All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the June 26th meeting of the Sebastian City Council. If you would stand for the invocation by Reverend Alex Tabbitt. Did I say that correctly? Tabbitt. Okay, and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember McFarland.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for the women and the men and all the children who are part of this Sebastian community. I pray that in their work and in their play, in their time with one another, that you would be blessed. I pray for those who are before me right now, that the determinations and the decisions that they make will be a blessing to this community and to you. And though they may seem small in this moment or huge in this moment, that we would all understand that the decisions we make, the way that we see them, will impact this community, not just tomorrow, but for generations to come. And so I pray, Lord, that you would guide with wisdom, with your joy, with the knowledge that you have of all that is to come, that we would fall in line with you and we would be a blessing to you and to others. And it is in the name of the one that I personally serve, Lord Jesus, that I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Dodd.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dixon.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember McPartland.
Here.
And Councilmember Nunn.
Here.
Thank you.
1 second. I have a resolution number 2431. Council, it's been requested that we add that to this evening, and I'd like to add that to item 12A under new business. If that's good, acceptable.
Fine.
Okay, then I'll move that we accept the agenda by acclamation. Okay, proclamations and awards. We now have a presentation on our annual audit. I'd like to come forward.
Good evening. My name is Christine Olran. I'm an audit partner with Carriggs and Ingram, and I oversaw your financial statement audit for this past year. So I'm not going to walk you through all 200 pages of the two reports. I'm just going to give you kind of a brief summary of your general fund, since that's your main operating fund, and then go over the findings that we found. So your general fund, at the end of the year, you have 6 months worth of expenditures in your unassigned fund balance. So the Government Finance Officers Association recommends having at least 3 months. Being in Florida and FEMA takes a really long time to pay you. I always say probably have a little bit extra. So you have enough reserves on hand for what is recommended. So in terms of like, are we healthy? Are we doing okay? Your city's doing fine. You had an increase in that fund balance this year of 1.4 million. So your revenues were up, property taxes were up due to higher values, and then your utility taxes were up because of higher rates. Your expenditures were also up $3 million. Some of that is because you had an internal lease of your land. So it shows up as capital outlay, but you're not actually spending any cash for that. So that looks a little wonky. The standards are honestly a little weird because you're going to have the land as you're leasing it, and you have the land of the lessor. So it's in there twice. Yeah. In terms of what we found, so this was the first year we've done your city's audit. There were some findings and some prior period adjustments. So just to start with, every opinion unit, so everything that we opine on, we have to look at what's material to that unit in itself. And then if it's above that, when we find an adjustment and we have to do a prior period adjustment, then I have to have a finding. So some of this qualitatively probably not a big deal, but just because of the number of what it was, I had to book a finding. So the first finding was related to your CRA fund, which is obviously not a very big fund for the city as a whole, but the Auditor General requires us to make separate statements for the CRA. So the threshold is very low that I have to look at. So your finance department found that the county didn't give you enough taxes. It took a really long time to resolve that with them. So unfortunately, fortunately you got the extra tax money, but you got it in 23 and 22 statements had already been issued. So we had to book an adjustment to then go back and count that back for 22 when you should have had it. So that's really, it's a finding because last year's wasn't quite right, but your finance department found it. So is it really a control that you should be worried about? No. Your building permits. So for what we were given for the approved rates, not all of the rates in the system were on the approved resolutions. So we just recommend having one complete list that's approved. So it's easy to make sure the rates that are in the system are the rates that were approved by you. The cutoff. So your revenue is fine from what you have from the state. You always had 12 months, but in the time frame from when you get it, you should have had 2 months in receivables instead of 1 month. So it's just changing the 12 months that you're counting in your revenue for the year. And then also accruing your payroll. So when the pay period covers the end of the year, if 1 week's in 1 year and one's in the other, we should just accrue that portion of the expense. So there's just some cutoff things of making sure we book those correctly at year end. Restricted donations for your police department. So you get a lot of donations for your police department. And the revenue and the expense wasn't showing up. So, so if you're used to for-profit statements, your income statement would have the revenue and then what you spent the donations on, and it was just being netted on your balance sheet. And so we just want that grossed up. So if you want to keep track of it in that fund during the year and then gross it up at the end before we get the trial balance, it's fine if that's better for tracking. But we just need that activity to be shown. The leases. So you had a new lease internally between Public Works and the airport. You did a great job at executing a lease because the FAA really wants you to have written leases, but then it just wasn't recorded. So the receivable to the airport and the wasn't shown as the receivable and the deferred inflow, so we just had to gross that up. Some segregation of duties. So when some numbers are being put into your software, they aren't being checked by someone else just to make sure they inputted them wrong. So it's just a check because then whatever is spit out of the system is what you're going to use. So we just want to make sure what's getting put in there is correct and there's not typos, transposed numbers. We didn't see anything of where someone was wrong from what we tested, but we only test a sample. We do an unpredictable procedure every year. So we counted some of your inventory. And so we found some discrepancies in the count. The dollar amount, very, very tiny. We just recommend maybe having a second person do some spot checks or some counts just to make sure when they're adjusting to that it is accurate. The budget ended up a little bit over. So the actual expenditures were a little bit over the budget. They were primarily because of the adjustments that we had from the audit. So pre all the adjustments, you were fine, but by the time we got them in, so just check them, or now you guys know some of these cutoff issues to book those and then just double check it. And then the last thing that's only in the CRA report, and this is very common, after the budget is approved for the CRA, it's supposed to get emailed over to the county, and it just wasn't sent within 10 days. And so we have to do that separate examination over the statutes. We find that a lot, that people forget to email it because the county never asks for it either. So yeah. We just have to note that in there, so I just want to make you aware. But nothing, the segregation of duties is really the only one that's throughout the year. Everything else is more year-end, so those are all possible to be cleared. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about any of them that I can answer?
No. No, it's, all of that needs to go to our new chief financial officer when we get them hired.
Find one, yeah.
You have anything, Brian, you want to say?
I just want to say thank you to Christine. We had a meeting today, and I can assure you that everything that was found in here, we've already either addressed it already, or we are putting the measures in place to ensure that it's been addressed at the year end. So I appreciate the hard work they did on this audit, and look forward to working with them as we continue to go forward in the future.
It's not unusual for an auditor the first year that they audit an organization to find things that they would like changed, to do a little bit different. So I think it was a good audit and a very positive, I think a positive audit, so
Yeah.
from what I saw. So I think we're in good shape. Anything else? Thank you.
Yes, good luck trying to find a replacement for Ken. I know it's difficult.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, brief announcements. Madam Vice Mayor,
Flip back there.
make you turn your book.
Yes. Okay. This Friday, June 28th, the Chamber of Commerce Finally Friday on Cleveland Street from 6 to 9, featuring Swamp Dog. Hopefully, we won't have the weather like we have right now. Then next Thursday, July 4th, Freedom Festivals all day. The parade begins at 8:30 a.m. We will have vendors, food, kids' activities, and music in Riverview Park from 10 a.m., and the fireworks kick off at 9 p.m. And the next Rad Kids class will take place July 8th through 12th at 505 Airport Drive West in Sebastian. I highly recommend this. You've heard me say this before. My children have done these classes. The Rad Kids Life Skills Curriculum replaces fear with knowledge, skill, and personal strength by educating children to recognize, avoid, and resist violence. Contact Officer Hart. He's amazing with the kids at 772-388-8215 for more information. That's it.
Okay, now I'll say this again on public input. If you would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda, come forward, but please go in the back and get a speaker card and bring it forward with you when you come up. Okay, so is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not currently on the agenda? Yeah. This is one of those legal things we now have to do. Yeah, you can give it to her.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Richard Gilmore, Sebastian.
Richard, are you going to talk about sand on the golf course
No.
now? Okay, you're talking about something else. Okay.
Something else, yeah.
That's fine.
I want to talk about a tale of two golf courses. Our course, Municipal, Sebastian Municipal, and Sand Ridge. They're both maintained by IGM. The issues that I'm talking about now are not about the sand. I'm talking about the greens. The greens have been awful all winter. We almost lost them. I have actually two issues with the golf course. It's not being maintained properly. I went to Rock City, and I'm not an agronomist, but I showed them pictures that you all have, and the person there said it looks like it's low nitrogen. Bermuda will yellow out if it doesn't have enough nitrogen or fertilizer to it. But just looking at the pictures, I mean, the greens are not what they should be. If you go to Sand Ridge and play there, and Vice Mayor Dixon, your son plays both courses, I'm sure he tells you about the course conditions. We're not getting our money's worth as far as the maintenance go. I talked with the one picture that you have is the holes on the practice green are almost furry. They've not been moved for probably 2 weeks. And I talked to the superintendent today, and I said, you know, your contract says they should be moved every day. Oh, no, that's just on the course. She says on the practice greens, he says, we only move them once a week. Well, they haven't been moved for 2 weeks, and the ball almost won't go in the hole. So if you read the contract, which, guess what, comes due October 1st. Our contract with IGM only goes through September. So if we were going to be thinking about putting something out for bid, now would be a real good time to think about doing that, okay? And not go into a debacle like we did with the waste management. The other issue that I have with the course is that Sand Ridge gives handicapped flags for people that are handicap, have issues with mobility. Our course never did, to my knowledge. The new carts that we have actually will physically stop if you get too close to the greens and too close to the tees. They will not transverse any of the par threes, which is a good thing, okay? But if you're 85 or 86 or 87 years old and you have mobility issues, if you're handicapped, you can't play golf here anymore. Simple. I know quite a few people that have stopped playing here because they physically can't walk a mile or 2 miles. And when you talk about all the back and forth that you have to do with these carts that just quit when they get 30 or 40 yards close to the green, where are they playing golf? Is Sand Ridge. They're going there. Now, I spoke with the city manager when we first got the carts. We had a discussion about it, and I said, you know, you've got old carts that don't have the GPS on them. Why don't you just use 5 or 6 of those for handicap carts? Recently, I found out that our carts can be turned off so that they can get closer to the tees and closer to the greens. But we still don't have a handicap flag or a handicap procedure in place, and I think we really should. I know folks have played this course for 20 or 30 years, and now they can't play it anymore because they physically can't walk a mile or 2, which is what you're talking about them having to do with the cart situation the way it is. Handicap, we have places for handicapped people to park, and we make that close to the, close to the where they sign in, but then nothing in place for them to play golf. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on something that's not on the agenda? All right, seeing none. All right, we're on to the consent agenda. I'd like to pull item B, council.
Yeah, I was going to pull item B as well. You're good.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move approval of items 8A, C, D, E, and F.
E and F?
D, E, F.
Yeah, all right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for consent items A, C, D, E, and F. Any comments from anyone in the council? So let's have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Dixon,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn,
Yes.
Mayor Dodd.
Yes. Okay, I pulled item B because Richard Gilmore asked me to do that, so I'm going to let him come up and speak.
Yes, sir. This is a memo from IGM dated July 11th, 2022. It's to Greg Garner, Director of Golf, from Steve Gano, Vice President of Operations, IGM. It says, thank you for your assistance in addressing the uncontrollable cost increases we face in maintaining the city's golf course. Per Mr. Carlisle's request below are a few of the most significant examples of labor and supply cost increases from 2020 till today. Now, this is dated 2022. I'm sure that things have gone up since then. We all know that they have, but it gives you an annual amount of money that they're spending for, guess what? Sand. Greens mix, 225 tons total for the year at 2022 prices, $24.80 per ton. That comes out to $5,625. And other sand, 150 tons at $19.89 per ton. That comes out to $3,000. So a total sand cost in 2022 was $8,600. Okay, I don't know how it goes from 8,000 to 50,000. That, I don't know how else you maintain bunkers except putting sand in them. The other problem that we have with sand in our bunkers is that they don't screen out the rocks. They do at Sand Ridge. They don't screen the sand. So what happens is rocks get pushed up on the green, and it's hard to putt over a rock. It doesn't putt very well. Okay. So in light of the fact that their contract comes due
Would you provide that memo to the clerk for the record?
Right here?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, okay.
But in light of the fact that their contract is coming due in 2 months, July, August, September, 3 months, I don't see how we want to be spending $50,000 or giving them 50 grand for sand for 3 months.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of, oh, it's kind of vibrating there. A couple of questions for the Director of Golf, if we can call him up.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Gardner. How are you?
Good.
So I've got a couple of questions. How long has it been since we put sand in the bunkers?
Since 2001, that was the last time we put a substantial amount of sand in the bunkers. The sand that IGM was referring to in that memo about the cost increases, that is not bunker sand at all. That is strictly for top dressing greens, top dressing tees, and most importantly, filling tee divots. That's the same sand that goes in the sand buckets on the golf carts. The bunker sand is totally different. It's what we call 6-angle sand. It's a real specific mixture of different particles. It's got to be bleached. It's got to be mixed up. It can't be just any type of sand to throw in the bunker. Otherwise, the ball would continually bury every time like a ball flies into the bunker. With the 6-angle sand, because it literally has 6 angles, the ball will hit that sand and kind of just scurry off a little bit and not go beneath the surface of the earth, so to speak. So it's two different things for sure.
All right, so let me ask this question. Does the drainage or lack of drainage, proper drainage in the bunkers, does that affect the sand loss in the bunkers? Or is a lot of that coming from when the maintenance people actually go in with the tractors and they drag it out up onto the edge and then the wind blows it away, or the water when they water the greens? Is that why we're losing sand?
No, it's really all of the above, though. You are right. There is a little bit from just heavy rains. Whether a bunker drains absolutely perfect or not, if you get a 1 or 2 inch rain, you're going to lose some particles of sand in your bunker. There's no question about it. Wind does play a huge factor. You've seen it yourself. When the wind is really howling, you can see it blowing right out of a bunker. The golfer playing just thousands of bunker swings in any bunker will eventually, that's why the lip of a bunker will literally grow in front of your eyes over a period of years, because the sand is just getting blasted up on top of the lip. When the maintenance crew does go in and rake them, yeah, a little bit of sand is going to come out. It's going to be attached to the bunker machine a little bit, but nothing to speak of. But all those factors together do add up into a loss of sand.
Yeah, I get that.
But they've lasted quite a while.
Right. Are there measures that we can take with the maintenance crew or staff at the golf course to prevent some of that sand loss?
Yes, we've talked a lot about entering and exiting a bunker from different spots on the bunker. If you go in the exact same spot every time, you'll literally create like almost a little road or a path. That's only going to add to sand loss. So we've talked a lot about them trying to use different corners of the bunker. I mean, some bunkers are just too dangerous. You can't go in from 360 degrees, or the machine would just fall right over. But we do try to alter where they enter a bunker and exit a bunker for sure.
Okay, I have no more questions, sir.
Okay, how many, right now today, how many bunkers are you talking about rebuilding with additional sand? The whole course, or?
No, just the green side bunkers.
Just the green side bunkers, okay.
Yeah, a lot of golfers have told me they would like a little more sand in the green side bunkers. Okay. The senior golfer, right now the sand is a little, it's a little sparse, it's a little packed. The senior golfer has a little trouble creating enough club head speed
Yeah.
to kind of, to blast the sand. That's what you're really doing in a bunker. You're not touching, Lee Trevino says it's the easiest shot in golf because you're not
supposed to
touching
hit
the
the
ball.
sand.
You're just, you're splashing sand. Well, if there's not enough sand to splash, then, a better player, even if it's packed down hard, can still splash something in that bunker. But we definitely need an inch or two of sand to help the golfer.
Okay, and what about the renewal of the contract? Is it something that, and Brian, you might, I'm not talking about whether we're going to renew the contract. We have to do something with the contract, whatever we do. Is the additional sand for the bunkers something that you feel needs to be done between now and the time that we go through the renewal process, or is it something that can wait and make that part of the renewal process?
So my opinion, and speaking with Greg and being out on the golf course recently quite a bit with the conditions, we're going to go full. We want to go forward with the additional sand at this time.
Okay.
In regards to the contract, we're setting up a meeting with our procurement manager to meet with IGM and have some discussions in regards to their existing contract and how we want to kind of look at going forward.
Are we going to RFP the contract?
I don't have a specific answer at this time on that. Once we have our meeting with them, I will have more information for you.
Okay, because I'd like to know why if we're not going to RFP it.
Yep.
Yeah, Mayor Dodd, I just got one other thing. I am not opposed to putting the sand. The golf course needs the sand in the bunkers. I just want to ensure that we take every measure possible to maintain as much of that sand as possible in those bunkers so the players can have a decent playing surface. So.
All right. Well, I'm comfortable on this since I pulled it. I move approval of item 8B.
Second.
Let's have a roll call vote, please. Oh, wait a minute. Since it was pulled, is there anyone else from the audience who would like to address this? Okay, now let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yeah.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys. We're now on to committee reports and appointments. This is a Planning and Zoning Commission. Ms. Cottenberg's seat is actually up now, and she has presented a desire to
Continue.
actually hold on to that seat. And also, we have had Christopher Roberts has expressed a desire to move into a permanent position. He's currently an alternate. I'd like to move that we reappoint Louise Cottenberg to the regular position, member position on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we don't have to do anything with Christopher Roberts. He's already an alternate.
Second.
Third.
Okay. Anybody opposed to that?
No.
No? Okay. Well, that takes place. Louise, congratulations.
Cottenberg's an excellent member of that board.
Okay, now let's go to ordinance number 2411. I'm going to open the hearing and ask the attorney to read the ordinance title, please.
Hold on. Ordinance number 02411, an ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, approving an amendment to the comprehensive plan future land use map to designate a land use classification of MDR, medium density residential 10 units per acre for property with a current land use designation of LDR, low density residential 5 units per acre for land consisting of 20.38 acres more or less located east of Schuman Drive, north and east of Day Drive, and south of Dahl Avenue, or specifically lots 15 to 28, block 583, lots 1 to 28, block 582, did I just repeat? And lots 2 to 29, block 581, Sebastian Highlands, Unit 17, authorizing findings and administrative actions preventing conflicts, severability, scrivener's errors, an effective date, and an adoption schedule.
Okay, now this is a quasi-judicial hearing. I'm going to ask the council if there's been any ex parte communications on the part of the council.
No.
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 All right, hearing none. Let the staff present their findings, please.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dory. Is there anyone, all right, I forgot to do the swearing in. Anyone who is going to address the council on this item, would you please stand and let the city attorney swear you in?
Well, they should be submitting the speaker oath cards.
They're going to bring the cards to you.
But we do not, we don't have to swear them in if they bring the speaker card?
No, sir.
Okay, so once again, if you're going to address the council on this item, would you please get a speaker card off the back table and fill it out and bring it forward? Okay. Well, when it's time, I'll call you. All right. Okay. Now, Dory, the staff position.
I believe the applicant makes his presentation first, Mr. Dodd.
Okay, let's let the applicant make his presentation first. It's nice to have a good staff.
Good evening. My name is Wesley Mills with Mills Short and Associates. I'm the agent for the applicant tonight for the rezoning request. So just wanted to give a brief introduction into the project and some of the items that I think are relevant for the rezoning hearing. So starting out, the site is about 20 acres, 20.3 acres to be exact. The current site is it's 70 individually platted lots that are left over from the original Sebastian Highlands plat by GDC. And so our proposed zoning request is to rezone the property to RM8. And as part of that rezoning, we will take these 70 individual lots and we will combine them into one parcel. The significance of that is, assuming the rezoning is successful, we would then have to go forward with a site plan approval, and that would require us to come back before at least planning and zoning, if not the council, and propose our plan and show that it meets all of the current land development regulations for the city, which are landscape buffers, recreational areas. The site, as it's configured right now at 70 individual lots, does not meet many of those requirements as far as landscape buffers and recreational areas. So another thing, and as I went through and prepared really for the P&Z meeting and reviewed the comprehensive plan to look at the compatibility of our project and our zoning request, a couple things jumped out at me that I didn't realize, that per the comp plan, the city of Sebastian is expecting growth over the next several years of about 9,000 residents. And there are currently 1,200 acres of vacant land within the city. And if you were to develop all of that vacant land at its maximum density, you would only achieve 4,900 units. Within that 1,200 acres, only 4.7%, I believe, 4.5% is zoned multifamily. 57% of that land is zoned single family. The significance of that is just nowadays to take a project from start to finish and develop a subdivision with a single family zoning, you don't get attainable housing. Just by the time you put in all the landscape buffers and the larger lots and the amenities and rec space and all the components that go into it, you just end up yielding a higher price point in the single family larger lots. I think now if you look, some of the newer subdivisions are around $400,000 and $500,000. So with all that being said, our goal for this project is to create a project that has attainable housing, not workforce housing or not low income housing, but more workforce attainable. It will be market rate, but trying to achieve a $200,000 or $300,000 price point that you just can't achieve with single family residential. In the planning and zoning hearing, there were numerous residents that came out and voiced their concerns, and we went back after the P&Z hearing and went through their concerns, and I can sympathize with their concerns, because if I lived in the residence, I'd have the same concerns, but I feel like it's coming from a place of unknown. So what I wanted to do is go through a couple items that seem to be the sticking points of where the areas of concern were, and compare those to the current zoning and the rezoning. The first impact or concern was environmental impacts. The rezoning won't make a difference on how the environmental concerns are addressed. They'll be addressed the same way per state statutes and per city requirements. So the rezoning makes no impacts on whether how the environmental assessment is handled. The second is stormwater or drainage. Again, when you design the drainage for a project, you have to comply with St. John's River water management requirements, and you have to comply with the city requirements. So it doesn't make a difference whether it's multifamily or single family. You're still required to abide by the same requirements. So the rezoning really makes no changes there. When it comes to water and sewer, I think there were a lot of concerns with if this project would be on septic, and it won't. We have Indian River County utilities in close proximity to the project. We plan on we have to connect into the city or the county's utility system. There will be, by the rezoning, there will be an increase in density, and that will result in an increase in demand on the water and sewer system. In calculating that demand, it's approximately 5,000 gallons per day. I know it sounds like a big number, but looking at the county's water capacity for the project, they have 8.8 million gallons per day available. So the 15,000 gallon increase is insignificant. As far as the sewer capacity, the county has available capacity of about 2.6 million gallons per day. And again, we would have 15,000 gallons per day on the system. Lastly is traffic. And I know that that's a big concern, and the project will increase traffic just by the sheer increase in density. But that increase on the system is about 146 trips. That's not a number that I just came up with. We use the ITE, which is an industry standard that all traffic engineers use to come up with projections on what traffic is going to be. But to put the 146 trips in perspective, the city, which goes by the county's traffic requirements, don't even see the need to warrant a traffic study until you get to 400 trips per day. So 146 trips is actually a pretty small number when it comes to traffic generation. We also looked at the capacity on some of the major thoroughfare and collector roads from the site, and all of them were above the threshold and had capacity to absorb the trips. When we come in with a site plan, we will definitely have a project-specific traffic study and show that if we do trigger improvements, it will be a requirement of our project. We'll have to do it if a right turn lane or a signal needs improving or whatever. I feel like that's being addressed. Two other concerns that I heard that I just wanted to provide more clarification for everybody is flood zone impacts. Currently, the way the site is designed, if we were to move forward under its current zoning, there's lots that are located within the flood zone. With the new project, after we rezone the property, that small sliver of flood zone around our project would only have landscape buffers within it. No house would be located within that flood zone. In addition, we would have the stormwater pond that would offset any impacts to the floodplain. So there's really no impacts there. The last item that I had that was of concern to neighboring residents is residentially owned property versus investor-owned property. And if we were to move forward with the current project as zoned, it would make no difference. It could be investor-owned or it could be owned by a residence. And that's the same if we move forward with a multifamily project. It could be the same way. So it's just a few items that I wanted to go over, provide more clarification for some of the neighboring residents and for you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can turn it back over to Dory for a staff presentation.
Okay, Dory?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, the council will ask questions after she does her presentation, so if they have anything, they'll call you back up.
Okay. And then,
Oh, yes, I'll take that. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I just want to do a little house cleaning with some of the information that Wesley gave you. He was talking about rezoning. I just want to clarify that this is for ordinance 2411. This is the land use. All properties will have a land use that is designated by the comp plan. They are requesting to go from low-density residential, which is 5 units per acre, to a medium-density residential land use, and that is maximum can be up to 10 units per acre. A lot of the same information that Wesley just went over can also be applied to the next public hearing that we're having for the rezoning request. They are requesting a zoning designation of RM8. That zoning district, which again, every property has to have a land use, and then you choose a zoning district that can be applied with that land use. They're requesting RM8, which is actually going to only allow them a maximum of 8 units per acre. Mr. Mills is speaking about the project. At this point, there is no plans. There is no, we don't know if it's going to be townhouses, duplexes, apartment buildings, single-family homes, or a mixture of that. If this was a requested PUD zoning, yes, you would have a conceptual plan in front of you. They are requesting just straight zoning, which is already established setbacks and lot sizes if they were to replat. We have before you, presented in your agenda packet, the staff report, which goes over a lot of comprehensive plan considerations and criteria that needs to be shown that this request meets, which we feel it does. We've included a couple of comp plan policies in there regarding what the medium density residential land use is supposed to acquire for the city, which is a mix of housing designations and housing districts, and also a policy that kind of refers to how we should allocate residential development. This is important to know that this isn't just a spot in the middle of the Highlands that would be zoned multifamily. The properties to the north are also have the same zoning, and they're already a mix of single-family and duplex houses. And there's also adjacent to it, there's commercial limited zoning, which has the Sandridge townhomes and an assisted living. So this is already adjacent to some other medium-density land use properties. So this does meet our comprehensive plan policies that is acquired. Mr. Mills was also correct in the city has of all of our land use for all of our properties, there is 54% of single-family land use and only 3% of our total properties is zoned medium density. So it is, this would open up some property, albeit just 20 acres, but it would open up some areas for some workforce and attainable housing, some multifamily housing. With that, we have given you the minutes from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They recommend an approval. That was a 6-to-1 vote. They recommend approval of the land use change, and staff also recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Council, anyone have any questions for either the applicant or the staff?
I do.
Okay.
For Mr. Mills. I have a few, actually. What is your future vision for this land? Like, what brought you to choose this spot in Sebastian?
So my client,
Your client.
Has owned the property for maybe 10 plus years. And I think he's tried to develop it or tried to make a project viable several times throughout the 10 plus years. He's a developer, so I think his goals are to build housing there.
Okay, that's not very specific. Why is the developer not here tonight? Like, if he wants to create this in our city, why couldn't he be bothered to attend our meeting tonight?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm not trying to not be specific, so if I don't answer something, I'm happy to circle back around. That's a good question. He doesn't live here year-round, so right now he's in Georgia, getting ready to go on vacation with his family.
It's not too far. How would this benefit our residents?
Well, I think the biggest benefit is it would provide for attainable housing. I think that you would get a product that would be somewhere in the probably $250,000 to $300,000 range, and I think that there's quite a bit of a need for that. So that jumps to mind to me as far as a benefit. The other benefit I would say is if we move forward with the project as is, it wouldn't include any open space or recreational space, wouldn't include any landscape buffers. So I think the city will get a better project because when we unify the parcel, we'll have to come back through the site planning and platting process, and you'll have input on that specific project. If we move forward without going through the rezoning, you guys wouldn't even see the project.
I understand that, but if you can't give us an exact vision, you know, there's a lot that can go into RM8. How can you give us a ballpark number of what you would be selling?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hide anything by any means. I'm happy to tell you what I think the vision is, but I think with a rezoning hearing, if I tell you what we're going to do, I don't even know that I'm supposed to tell you. But if you're okay, if I'm okay doing that.
It's up to you voluntarily, but we're looking, for council members, you know, we're looking for compliance and compatibility with our comprehensive plan and the conditions as laid out. So if you choose to share that, that's up to you, but that would be a voluntary thing. We can't force them.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to be transparent. By no means am I trying to hide anything.
Sure.
I just didn't want to get anybody in trouble here. So I envision, I would think that the project would be smaller lots, smaller single-family lots, maybe a combination of townhomes. But again, I say that, and that's what I think it will be, but I would be the engineer likely of the project, but it could change, and I can't.
I know a concern of mine, and I know the residents are more places with landlords with skyrocket rent, right? So this is a concern. I want to make sure that this is something that's going to benefit our residents. We have a lot of kids here who graduate and don't leave, and they need somewhere to, you know, their first home to buy, right? This is a community where we have generations of residents, and we don't need something that, again, you can't afford. So these are my concerns.
No, and I understand. I think just being in the market and where we see likely buyers and what I think the intent is that it will be sold to a home builder. By no means is the intent to be an apartment project to drive up rents, or by no means does my client intend to build all of these and hang on to them as rentals. Development just is so expensive nowadays. Your local developer is not developing, you know, it's, you know, tens of millions of dollars.
It's a concern when he can't bother to be here. Thank you.
Done?
I'm done.
Anybody else have any questions?
So I'll go. Thank you for being here. And I understand the owner can't be here, but that's fine. You're here to represent him. You know, obviously the concern is, it sounds like looking at the project, looking what you're talking about doing is something similar to what Sandridge Estates is. Do you know what Sandridge Estates is?
I'm not familiar with it.
It's the property nearby that Ms. Bosworth mentioned. It's a little bit smaller piece of property. It houses about 64 units. It's very classy. It's nice. It's very well maintained. It represents our community very well. I don't think it's a blight on our community. I think it serves a purpose. Now, I'm not asking for low-income housing, but I would love to hear a commitment that you're actually going to make these attainable workforce housing. People hate to hear the affordable, so I won't use the word. I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee, and affordable housing, everybody thinks, oh, that means Section 8. Well, we need houses that people can afford, and if that's what you're looking at doing, I'm for that. I'm for making units that people can afford that aren't slums, that are nice places that people, like was said, Councilmember Dixon said, we want places that our kids can afford to buy and live here in Sebastian. And some place like Sandridge type of a development, I think serves our community well. And I'm for that type of situation if that's the direction you're trying to go. I would encourage the owner to look at Sandridge and what they're doing there, just as an example of a great, I think, addition to our community. I lived on Dahl Avenue 25 years ago when Sandridge was built. I saw when it went in, and I was concerned and worried about the neighborhood and what it would bring. It didn't do anything bad. It actually brought a great thing to our community. If that's what we're looking at doing, is something along those lines that's affordable from the perspective of our police officers and nurses and teachers and things like that, I think that's a great thing. The only question I have is the owner committed to making sure, I know I can't force you to, I'm just asking, are you committed to doing everything you can to make this workforce affordable housing?
Yes, if I could commit to that, I would.
I know.
And I can't. But I think in all probability, what will happen is this project will be engineered and designed and then be sold to a national home builder that's building in Spirit of Sebastian or one of the other subdivisions, and then they will come and do exactly what you're referencing to provide that affordable price point that they can't meet in the single-family residence. I get phone calls on a regular basis from every home builder that wants this site, and that is their plan.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Anybody else?
Right. I honestly, you know, we need for our workforce to be able to live where they work. And right now, it's very difficult for someone in the regular workforce, working class people, to afford a home because of the prices that they are. So I think if this is something that is going to be affordable for workforce, I'm not talking about, like, right now, you guys get, the owner can build right now without anything. They can go ahead and build $400,000 or $500,000 homes. But we're looking for somebody that's going to come in and build what they're saying. We want to see workforce housing, some houses that people can afford. And I get it. They can just build whatever they want. They don't have to even go through the current land development codes. They can just, it can come to staff and it'll be done. So you don't even have to stand here before us right now, but you all are willing to do that. I just wish the owner or somebody else with more authority can come in here and say, because we've had these questions asked at the P&Z meeting before, so somebody else should have been able to answer these questions, like the vision. What do the owner envision this property being? What type of homes? So those are simple things that could have been answered or asked from that person. They could have been answered for us here, and they're not. And, you know, I just want us to have workforce housing so our working people can live where they work, because then that money stays here in our community. If we have people that come in from outside, come here to work, then go back, take their money back out, that money is not benefiting our community. So it's very important to have housing that's affordable by our workforce here within this city. So I don't know what you need to do or whatever to get some assurances on any of that, but perhaps this is something that we may have to bring back up later until we get those answers. I'm not sure what the answer is right now, but I think our residents, and I think we deserve to have that vision of what they plan to have there, so.
Mr. Jones, I just wanted to remind, this is first reading of this ordinance.
Yeah, I got
and,
it.
And it could be second reading, that you could require the applicant to be here, and a lot of these questions.
Yeah,
Your
and
approval
that's-
tonight would just be for the second reading and to set that date.
Yeah, I would be leery of that, Dory. I mean, we can't do site plan work when we're talking about this. I mean, we can't say to the applicant, we want to see your site plan before we're going to approve this.
No, we could-
I think that would be inappropriate for us to do that.
I was just thinking some of the questions.
Okay.
No, just the
encourage-
But I
vision.
mean, you know, I wouldn't expect the applicant to walk in and lay a site plan on us.
No.
No, at all, in any way, shape, or form. And that's, you know, the issue we have to deal with is that in order, it's almost simplistic, and that's what makes it so complicated. In order to build cheaper houses, and when I say cheaper, I'm not talking about cheap in construction, I'm talking about affordability, cheap in price. You have to build more of them on a smaller piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to increase density, you have to reduce lot size by increasing density, and then you have to allow the developer to build what will fit on that lot size. And so what's being asked for here within this ordinance, within this particular item, is an increase in density that will allow them to put together a plan to build something other than a $400,000 house. Right now, on that property, they can't build anything other than a $450,000 house. make any money on it. They can't afford it. The builder will not do it because the land costs too much. So what they're asking for here, and I think these are all great questions that are being asked. The problem is we have to be careful that we don't put I don't know, we don't get down in and count the nuts on the floor of the forest before we realize how many trees we have. And the issue is that if we don't allow them to increase density, they're not going to be able to come back to us with a site plan that includes houses that will market in the $250,000 to $300,000 range. And right now in Indian River County, if they don't sell for somewhere under 310, they don't meet the state's requirement that allows the county through all the programs like SHIP and so forth to provide assistance for people to buy them. They don't, I mean, so we have to be very careful when we go through this process that we consider all that as it goes around. Also, our comp plan very specifically says we want workforce attainable housing. And Sebastian, it's required in our comp plan that we do that. So this step right here is actually we're affirming the comp plan if we approve this. We're affirming we want workforce housing if we approve this because we're providing a developer the tools that they need to come back to us with something. We don't have to accept a site plan when they bring it in. And if they bring a site plan in at wanting to build apartments, we don't have to approve that. Although there's certain limits on what we can do once we give them RM8, but it won't do them any benefit. There's too many apartments being built on Route 60 in Vero that rent for $2,500 a month and nobody's renting because they can't afford them. It's just that simple. There's too many to it. So that's my 2 cents worth. This is the first step in trying to get to where you want to get to.
Right. No, that makes sense.
We're just encouraging participation and vision for the second reading.
Yeah.
Well,
it makes sense.
The real concern, once again, is, I mean, we have to be very careful that if in this point at the process, they come in and try to develop something, then they're stuck with that.
Right.
They're stuck with that. So whatever you bring in can't change, okay? And the problem is that you're providing little bits of detail that when you map that into the total detail, now site plan, that little bit may need to modify, but they're stuck because their zoning is going to be predicated on that. So we have to be careful that we don't put ourselves in a situation where we're making it very difficult on the people that we're trying to get to do this for us. We'll make it very difficult on them to do that. That's why I'm saying that. And now, for the owner to say, I am going to build workforce housing, would be perfectly appropriate for the owner, if the owner's willing to do that.
Right.
Okay, then that would be perfectly appropriate. But as far as approving this is concerned, we're approving the opportunity for him to do that.
Correct.
All right.
Mayor Dodd, you're spot on, and one thing, if I may just add, is that's the whole point of why we're coming in for a request is to do attainable housing. It's a quicker, easier path for us to stay where we're at, but we want to do affordable housing. That's why we're going through this longer, tedious process, not necessarily on the rezoning side, but also the site planning side, and it comes back for public hearing, and we've got to replat it, and it extends the project by another year, not to mention the what ifs of you not liking the site plan and those kind of things. So if we stayed where we were at, we can do that, and that's an easier path. The fact that we're here today is the commitment that we're trying to do attainable housing.
And a visionary developer who's looking at the world today is going to realize that the time from entry to market to selling on a new piece of property today at $450,000 is 30 days longer than it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago. The time from entering into the market and selling on a $250,000 house is going to be instantaneous almost. Because right now with the interest rates and with people, they can buy it, they're going to be snapping them up as quick as they can. So if you want to build something that's going to sell, rather than something that's not going to sell, you're going to build in that marketplace, I think.
Yeah, demand's there.
Okay, Bob, do you have anything you want?
No, the only way to get to affordable, attainable housing is to increase the density. And you know, I'm for this. You know, the only problem is today it might be 200,000. By the time they make the house, it could be 300,000. And that's happened throughout the county. You know, projects starting $400,000 a house. Then you look at it next month and it's 600,000. That's the only problem. But the only way to try and get there is to increase the density.
Okay, I'm going to open this up to anyone.
Can I say one more
do you want to say something?
I do want to say one more thing, Mr. Mayor, if I can. You know, I'm looking at the map of the existing property, and there's roughly about 60 lots on that property. And, you know, I just bring the thought that right now, with those 60 lots, they could build in those 60 lots, build homes on them, sell them. They don't have to deal with stormwater. They don't have to deal with any of those things. So by them coming here with this project and wanting to change the land use and then the zoning, they're actually taking on a lot of responsibility with that project that they're not required to do if they just built the houses on these properties that are already platted out and ready to go. So, you know, there's some benefit to the city in general. I get it that there's people that live on Long Schumann that don't want to see that property beyond their house that's been woods all this time built. But, you know, the reality is, unless you can find an organization to offer them enough money to sell the property to them to keep it environmental land, at this point, it's privately owned property. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to open this up to anyone from the audience who, and this is the key here, anyone from the audience who is opposed to this request. Yes, sir, you may come forward. Thank you, sir.
Name is Pasquale, and I'm a new resident here. I moved here from Stuart, Florida. The reason I moved here from Stuart, Florida is because people like you increase densities so greatly that people are living on top of each other. They're driving all over each other. You can't walk to the stores. You can't do anything now without using much more time to get from point A to point B. I've seen the counties north and south of here plan with no planning whatsoever. I've heard developers come up here and promise you the world. $200,000 house, there is not a developer in Florida that can put up a $200,000 house in today's market. And if they do, you don't want to live in it. The $200,000 house ends up being $400,000. Multifamily projects breed trouble. When you put people into smaller environments, it creates a lot of social problems. Ask your police department, they can verify this, or any other police department. Keep the zoning the way it is. The majority of the people in this city, county want single-family homes. We've been through several charrettes, and they come up with single-family homes, not multifamily homes. I bought a house over here on Wimbrow Drive. I bought the 2 lots next to it. The reason I bought them, keep developers off of them. Developers bring in trouble. They bring in higher taxes. They bring in lower services. I have seen it. I lived in Martin County for 43 years. I was involved down there also with the city government. I fought development down there to the point where we were doing quite well. Then all of a sudden people passed on and the younger people went crazy. That place down there is worse than Miami. St. Lucie County, just as bad. No planning and everybody knows what's going on there. I don't want to see it starting here because it will do nothing but destroy the quality of life that you now enjoy. I'm new here. Most of you have been here a while. You know it better than I do. I'm enjoying the quality of life up here. I don't want to see it destroyed like it is happening both south and north. So before you change this zoning, which you are telling him you can build twice as many houses on the same piece of property, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're starting. Because when you do it for one, you do it for 2, 3, 4, and 5 other developers coming in asking for the same thing. You are starting a bad trend. I hope you have enough courage and common sense to kill this thing immediately, if not sooner. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Ron Blank. I live off of Day Drive. I'm born and raised in Florida, South Florida. I'm 65 years old. I've watched it grow from nothing to overpopulation. Affordable housing, that's a buzzword. I love it. I'm for it as well.
Could you come just a little closer to the mic to make sure that it picks up? Thank you.
Okay. Affordable housing, I'm for it. I wish I could have afforded a house when I was 26 years old, but I got out of the Navy, worked my butt off, did what I can, got what I got. My son, 31 years old, doing the same thing, dual incomes. I get it. I fully get it. Make sure it's 100 years, 100 years. You get to decide the direction. Can you change social issues? I don't know. Every time I've seen government try to step in and change a social issue, cause more problems. You know, that old saying, hey, I'm here from the government, we're here to help. I don't think it ever helped. So my point of all this is, I'm not asking you to get a plan, but you sure as hell can say, this is townhomes, this is villas, this is single-family homes, and put a mixture in. And in the stormwater, that's just another flavor there. Okay, whatever. We all know we have a stormwater problem. That can's been kicked down the road in this town for quite some time. We already have an issue at Schumann and Barber. We know it. Hell, we just got Schumann repaved. We didn't even know it was being done until after you started. And that's okay. I'm happy it's being done. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. I'm not trying to bitch. What I'm trying to say is, what's the next 100 years going to look like? How are you going to make it? What industry are you inviting here to employ the community so it can contribute back in the community and make it stronger? Because if you seem to think that everyone that works in Sebastian stays in Sebastian, I think you're fooling yourself. I get it. You guys need to employ people here with housing. I get it. But you got to remember the flavor. If you don't know where you came from, how in the hell are you going to know where you're going? And if you want to be like Miami, fine. You want to be like Port St. Lucie, fine. Let us know. Because there's some of us that want to move out, get the money we can for our house and move on. And that's another subject. Housing market is not doing well. It is not. There are 54 communities right now with 125 homes on it that are going to be pretty much sold at cost by a very large developer coming up. And that is no lie. And they're marking it down to $100,000 just to get their cost out of it. And who are they taking it to? They're pension funds managers that'll be buying it up. It's a common practice. So you need to take a look at what's going to happen with the housing market, what's happening with the interest rates, what's going on in private sector and how many people are getting fired because of the economy, and really, really focus on the next 100 years. I'm for affordable. I really am. But I want it done right. I want to be proud. And I love this town as much as you do. But let's stop and think, can you really solve a social issue? And can you really impact what you're doing going forward and how you do it? I'm all for Sandridge. I'm all for it. I think that would be nice. But not knowing exactly and allowing once, it can continue to happen. Just be smart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else opposed? The lady in the back first. I think she stood up about 25 minutes ago. Thank you. I got it.
I don't believe that we're totally against this thing. I think they're cramming too much.
Can you move forward?
I think they're cramming too much in that space. And the thing about 400 travels a day, we're next to the high school, the elementary school that's going to become a junior high school. And And
I look
there's a lot
confused
of
'cause I
tra-
haven't heard
there's
that one,
There's a
so.
lot of traffic there on Schuman. It's only a 2-lane road. There's not going to be any way to expand the road to 4 right there. It's going to be too much traffic coming out. We're surrounded by single-family homes in the whole area. And I understand we need housing, but we don't want to have rental properties. We want to have people who own when they move in there, that they own the places. Because at the last meeting, there were going to be fourplexes, duplexes, homes, and maybe rental apartments, the way we understood it, and we're against that. We want people to own what they're going to buy in there. That's all, not rent. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Sir, you're next, right there. You're not opposed? You're opposed? Okay. Yeah, if you're in favor, wait a second. Okay, are you opposed, sir? Yes, you may come forward. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bart Edwards. I live on Day Drive. I've been there, actually been a Sebastian resident since about 1990. I love it here, just like all you do, okay? But I think I would like to just present to you a thought, all right? Affordable housing. We all know what we can afford. What is affordable housing? The cost to build a house right now, I'm in the construction industry. I sell construction supplies wholesales to contractors. You're talking $210 a square foot to build a house. Now, if you want to build a house that's going to be $210,000, you're talking about 1,000 square foot house, right? If you want to take and build one that costs $320,000, you're talking about a 1,500 square foot house. How big are the houses you folks live in? Okay? I just want to bring that to you. By the time these people, we say it's affordable, taxes, insurance, okay, all that added together, interest rates, we don't control the market. The only ones that control the market is how many people are buying, okay? And people are only buying right now if it's a bargain, correct? How many people right now are saying, I'm going to buy a $700,000 house right now? I don't think any of you folks are, okay? What I would like to bring to you also is this. I am worried that if you approve this density change, you're going to make a deal with this gentleman and the owner. Number one, if he's owned the property for 10 years, he probably paid around $10,000 average per lot. And if you're going to let him build 4 houses on an acre, he's got 26 acres, he's going to be able to build 100 houses. All right? So he had about $1 million wrapped up in the property. Now, look at what lots are selling for, vacant lots are selling for in Sebastian. If you don't change the density, okay, those same lots that he paid $10,000 for possibly, I don't know what he paid for them, okay? But let's say he goes to look at the value. Let's say it's $30,000 to $40,000 a lot. Do the multiplication, okay? If you do the density change, because I don't have a problem with the current density, I just have a problem with the change, all right? These big developers, we all know their names. They're always looking for some place to go where they could take and make a buck. Up here on US 1, north of town, what is it, up in Micco or Grant? D.R. Horton's building houses up there, affordable houses, $300,000. My next door neighbor is a framer up there. They're only putting 340 houses in that small development, and they're putting them all in within 18 months. So if you think this is going to be start to finish 5 years, forget that. All I'm asking you for is whatever you decide. Once you decide, you cannot go back and change it. You could not revoke it. You could modify it. Okay? And just please honor our thoughts and wishes if possible. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Opposed? All right, now, anyone in favor? Oh, wait, no, you've already spoken, so anyone in favor? Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Robert Allen. I actually live just a couple blocks away from the area being discussed. I have a couple different comments on this, and I'm not strictly opposed or in favor of this particular change or any particular development here, but I do want to call out a few things that I've been hearing from the audience. I'm born and raised in Indian River County, and I just moved back about 3 years ago. Prior to that, I spent about 15 years roaming around the country, and I've lived in apartments in every single case. Because generally speaking, the economics of homeownership just don't make sense unless you're going to be there 10 years or longer, right? First 10 years, you're barely paying anything on principal anyway. You might as well be paying half as much into rent. That's kind of the problem, because we saw in Vero Beach, we've got $2,500 a month apartments, and they're not full, right? The prices right now, everybody is jacking up to get the absolute maximum that they can, and the entire economy is right now at a really precipitous place, right? So what I saw, I'm going to talk about apartments just briefly because that is, I believe, one of the possibilities down the line. In Rochester, New York, the apartments are fantastic. I was paying about $1,000 a month. They were beautiful, well maintained. It was fantastic, luxurious living, better than most homes that I've seen, even in our beautiful community. Austin, Texas, $1,100 a month. In San Francisco, $2,800 a month, and I needed a couple of roommates, obviously. In that particular location, one of my roommates rented out his closet, his walk-in closet, to subsidize his portion of the rent. So what I want to drive into that particular example is in San Francisco, there is a major upswelling of local support for keeping housing exactly as it is, driving out apartments or keeping them out, not rezoning, not increasing density, keeping it single-family homes. And as a result, you have now, well, actually just 3 years after I left San Francisco, prices were almost $4,000 a month for the exact same apartment I had been in. The density is going to increase whether you want it to or not, but the lever there is price. People are going to move in. You want 9,000 new residents in the area over the next few years. You're not going to have those homes. You're going to end up with people splitting their homes. You're going to have people moving out and renting their homes to 1 or 2 or 3 different families because that happens. I've seen it. It's not great, even if the buildings look nice and you have a yard to maintain, right? That's the key difference, is there a yard to maintain. The families are coming no matter what. When I was in Seattle, I was living in Bellevue. Bellevue is gorgeous. It is phenomenal. It's mixed use all the way through. There's some single-family homes that are on the outside, $1 million homes, of course. But they have, for the core of this town, it's all mixed use. You've got apartments, you've got shopping. It is just stunning. It's the best parts of Manhattan without the worst parts. I miss it a little. But if we can be a little more open-minded to what we're doing in the future, how we're rezoning, be more intentional to what the gentleman before me was saying, be intentional about what we're doing in the future, we can expand and improve our community in ways that are productive for us without changing our core culture, right? One last piece is on infrastructure costs. If you want to pack 100 families, you have 1 small apartment building, or you have 10 roads. Each one of those needs to be repaved and maintained. You have a lot of power lines that need to be run. You have a lot more sewer lines potentially that need to be put in. You have a lot more infrastructure costs putting in single-family homes, and it covers a lot more space versus more dense situations. So that goes into 10, 20, 30 years down the line for budgetary purposes. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I'll ask it for the first time tonight. Anyone on Zoom?
Nobody's raised their hand at this time.
Thank you. All right, would the applicant like to provide a response to anything you heard during the public comment?
There's just a few items that came to mind. The last gentleman, when he was talking about apartments, I think I can say with almost surety that it's not going to be apartments. That is the one thing that I can assure you that it's not going to be. The second thing is when he talked about infrastructure, it reminded me that if we move forward under the current project, we are going to build these roads and then give them to the city to maintain and own. If we come in with a new project, they will be private roads and they will be the responsibility of the HOA to maintain. That's, everything else we've been through.
All right, thank you, sir. Staff, would you like to summarize?
Just one quick summary. I can clarify where the apartment came from. We had reviewed what the RM8 zoning district allows. Because we don't have a plan, we had just disclosed the RM8 allowed single-family duplexes, apartments, townhouses. That's what that district for the zoning allows. So that's where that came from on what could be in there. The other thing I want to do, we're recommending approval. We have asked that you set the second reading and the public hearing for July 10th. We would like to change that date to July 24th for consideration of your motion.
Brian, is the 24th okay from your?
I think we probably need to push it back to the next meeting, not on the 24th.
The first meeting in August?
Yes. That would be our preference. Are you okay with that?
There was a Scribner's error in a legal ad, and a legal ad had
Then
been
that's
run.
fine.
Okay.
We'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
I apologize.
So is it the 24th because of an ad issue?
No, it's fine.
The 24th is fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure before we go forward, because that has to be in the motion whenever we make it.
Is that the 24th of this month? I mean, next month, July?
July 24th.
July
Yeah,
24th.
okay. All right. All right, council. Any deliberations? Anyone wants to say anything?
I just want to mention that HOA is an additional bill which takes away it being attainable housing. And then speaking to Mr. Allen's comment, a lot of what he mentioned was great, but I really feel that our Graves Brothers annexation land will be accomplishing much of what he was mentioning.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go next.
Yeah.
I do remind anybody sitting here listening that that property is currently platted for 64 lots. I counted them while I was sitting here to make sure I had the number off the map, and assuming the map is basically correct, there's 64 lots in that area. 64 lots that can be $400,000 houses and still have a bunch of people, still have a bunch of cars, still have all the same impact. The only way we can even hope to achieve a workforce housing is to give so that they can build more. I know people don't want to hear it, but once again, it's simple math. If you build a standard size lot with a standard size house, the cost is what the cost is. The only way to fix that is to build either smaller lots or build like a quadplex. And I'm going to once again say Sandridge Estates are almost all quadplexes. There's not blight in that community. There's not crime in that community. Most of you people live near that area. Sandridge Estates definitely is not the slum. It's a very beautiful community that's been taken care of well. This is the first step in this process. If we don't move forward with the request, then the answer is most likely down the road is 64 $400,000 houses, and we own the infrastructure.
Anyone else?
And that would be probably 64 lots on septic as opposed to being hooked up to sewer.
Correct.
And, just to go over again, to increase the density, hopefully get to affordable, attainable housing. I just want people to know that the largest growing homeless demographic going right now is single female seniors that can't afford to live. So hopefully this can, quite possibly. So with that, I move approval ordinance number O-24-11 and set second reading for July 24th.
I'll second that.
Brad, did you have anything you want to say?
No, sir.
Okay, I've got a couple things before we do any voting on this. I want the citizens to be assured. I mean, I've lived in Sebastian now 23 years, and I ate in the same restaurants that I did 22 years ago. They know I like sweet tea, which I shouldn't. They know things when you go into these restaurants, and that's just a good indication. The city is not dramatically different today than it was when I moved here. That this isn't like Fort Lauderdale or so forth. It's really not. The population is increased by 9,000 people, roughly, in those 20-some years. It's now much bigger than it was, but the city hasn't changed dramatically. And a lot of that is because of the things that our staff and our council over those 20-some years have done. I've been through more of these arguments. I was on the P&Z for 12 years, been on the council now for 8. I've been through more of these discussions where everybody was afraid that the decision we were making was going to destroy this city. It's kind of like we were going to drop a nuclear bomb on Archie Smith's fish house down there someplace. And it hasn't done that yet. And quite frankly, there's no reason why it will do that. This is not something that's going to destroy Sebastian. It hopefully will make Sebastian a better place. We can't continue to survive as a bedroom community of Social Security Administration, which means all retirees buying $400,000 houses. We can't continue that way here. And for the gentleman who talked about, can we bring jobs here? I wish that we could. But what you have to give to someone to get them to move to a community makes it virtually impossible for Sebastian to do that. The city of Port St. Lucie, as out of crazy whack as it is in hock for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in bad debts because they gave so much money to people to move businesses to Port St. Lucie to generate job growth. We drive revenue into our airport because our airport concentrates on boutique airport type businesses, and we build hangars and they're rented. We build hangars and they're rented, and it's because of the concentration on that. But they don't bring hundreds of jobs, they bring tens of jobs. We're not going to build an Amazon distribution center here because we'd have to supplement it with financing, and then they'd go away. They'd decide they don't need it anymore, and it'd be like the 2 in Fort Pierce sitting on Interstate 95 that are empty right now. Like 2 million square feet of space is empty because Amazon decided they didn't need it, and the city is probably on the hook for that too. So the solution for Sebastian is to maintain the course, and at the same time understand that we have to diversify. We have to diversify the city. We have to diversify what we can offer to our citizens. And we have to do that through supporting the business community. We have to do that through supporting businessmen. I don't know whether he'll make any money on this piece of property or not, but I know I've met with the gentleman. He's not a dumb guy. He's a good businessman. He's been in business for a long time, and he's made a lot of money. He understands the risk that he's associating with this piece of property. And his comment basically, when I asked him about affordable housing, about workforce housing, his comment to me was, I'm a business guy. I'm going to make a certain percentage of profit. And if I make it off 63 $400,000 houses, or I make it off 81 $225,000 houses, I don't care. I'm going to make the same amount of profit because that's what businesses do. They generate profit. And he was willing to work with us on trying to help the city reach a goal that we've had in our comp plan now for 5 years, I think. And this is one of the first times that we've really been able to put something together that kind of goes after that in the comp plan. So I'm all in favor of this. And it's not because I think it's going to destroy the city. I really don't think it's going to destroy the city. I think the city's going to be better off because of it. So that's my comments. We have a motion and a second, and I'll call the question, please. Would you do a roll call vote?
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
No.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is item 10B, which is ordinance 02412. Would the city attorney like to read that, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 024-12, an ordinance of the City of Sebastian, Florida, designating a zoning classification of RM-8 residential multifamily 8 dwelling DU acre to land with a current zoning designation of RS10 residential single family for property consisting of 20.38 acres more or less located east of Schuman Drive, north and east of Day Drive, and south of Dahl Avenue, or specifically in lots 15 to 28, block 583, lots 1 to 28, block 582, and lots 2 to 29, block 581, Sebastian Highlands Unit 17, providing for conflicts, severability, scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
All right, city staff.
This is the complement concurrent application to the land use. They're requesting to go from RS10 single family to RM8. We'd like to enter into the record a lot of the information and data that we had presented at the land use hearing. Staff recommends approval, and we would like to change the second reading to the July 24th for consideration with your motion.
And I don't think the applicant needs to make another presentation, since we're going to carry forward his presentation from the last item into this, unless the attorney thinks he needs to, but I don't.
Applicant consents.
Okay. All right, council, anyone on the council have any comments for the staff?
Just hear him for the record, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, this is the next step in this process, and this is, once again, we're on the first reading, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend approval.
Is that a motion?
Motion to recommend approval.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Comments from council?
I know where I stand.
Okay.
Always
Anyone
Lone
from the
Ranger.
public would like to address this item? All right. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Nunn.
Yes.
Mayor Dodd.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon.
No.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, resolution R2428. Madam City Attorney.
Resolution number 24-28, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, approving a special use permit, pursuant to Land Development Code Section 54-2-3.1 for a car wash facility to be located at 1979 U.S. Highway 1 within the Riverfront Overlay District CR Commercial Riverfront Zoning District, providing for severability, conflicts, scrivener's errors, effective date, and providing for an expiration date.
City staff.
This is a request for special use. Tonight, we're just approving the use, considering the use, not necessarily the site plan or the elevations that were provided. Those were conceptual for your consideration. If you remember, this was, even though we'll look at this application on its own merits, there was a previous application last year for the same site. At the same time, there was actually 2 car washes that went before you that were both approved, one on Sebastian Boulevard, one at this site. The application on Sebastian Boulevard withdrew their interest in that property, as did the one before this. Based on how that resolution was worded, this applicant had to come in for his own special use. It wasn't carried over for successors and assigns. So they're before you. I know the applicant does have a quick presentation that they would like to PowerPoint for you and ask any questions. Besides the amount of car washes that last year we thought could be in Sebastian, which is no longer a concern, we do still have concerns of the cluster of car washes that may be in this area. And if one of them was to go out of business, we may have an empty building again, similar to one that's sitting here, but one that may not be as easily converted into another use. We did get some current update from the county regarding the Dirty Dog car wash sign that's across the street. There was a document printed where it showed that their site plan expired as of May 2024. The planner did let us know that it has been extended to September 30th. As long as they come in, there was some minor comments. It'll be able to be approved administratively by staff, but if it goes past September 30th, they would have to start all over with their application. So there would be a scenario that possibly this car wash would come in first, get built first. But with that, staff has, if it is approved, staff has included some recommendations within the resolution. We would want as many current noise reductions on the tunnel for any of that equipment. We'd like the trees that are there, the existing canopy trees that are in the buffer to remain, and that we would have this special use permit expire within 3 years from the date of approval. And as I mentioned, I think the applicant had a quick presentation.
Would you like to come forward?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, before he comes up, I just want to ask Dora a question. The extension that the county extended to Dirty Dogs, was that at the request of the applicant or the county? Or do you know? I'm sorry.
I believe it was the applicant. The planner that I spoke to, Mr. Cragen, had said that the applicant had requested that extension.
Okay.
Why is that piece of land in the county? Yes, sir. You have a presentation? I'll take that, yes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jason Sheridan with Pinoni Associates, representing Big Dan's Car Wash. Parcel in question is shown outlined in red. It's about it's a little over an acre site just to the south of the Walmart Supercenter on US 1, 1979 US 1. It is in the commercial riverfront zoning district, and there are about 22,600 vehicles per day on average that run north and southbound along US 1. So the site access, you see a site overlay on a Google Earth image. The site access will be the driveway to the southwest, which was one of the previous access points, as well as one of the current driveways leading to the existing Walmart access drive. So the south drive will let you traverse to US 1 North by Jackson Street. The access drive along Walmart will lead you directly to US 1 South. And as you can see, the proposed car wash is generating less trips than the drive-through bank did. So the current infrastructure can support traffic that will be generated from the car wash. Blow up of that site layout, this was included with the conceptual plan. There'll be 10 queuing spaces, 5 parking stalls, about 34 vacuum stalls. Utilities are currently serving the site, water, sewer, stormwater, and power, and there is a recirculation system on the water that is provided. It's about 60 to 85% of the reuse of the water used in the car wash is recirculated. And the architectural renderings you see are compliant with the Riverfront Overlay District. And some of the previous car washes that were mentioned are 3 of them listed. They're all self-serve, which doesn't really compete with the express car wash. Express car washes are more quick get in and out. A lot of the self-serves are for more larger vehicles, bigger trucks, RVs, boats, something that you want to take your time cleaning out. And above is a clip highlighted from a study for the best location of a car wash. So the highlighted clip states the primary location would be an area like a Walmart near a commercial area strip mall close to a light or a main thoroughfare. And the Walmart that we're looking at has about 136,000 monthly visits. So the average vehicles per day that a car wash serves is about 150. It is in a resale corridor, good visibility from both directions, easily accessible. And again, it is a highly traveled road. So if we were to target the 150 vehicles per day, it's less than 1% of the total vehicles on the road and about 3% of the total monthly visits to Walmart. That would be the main focal point for the business at that car wash. And that's the population draw for the Walmart. It's about 66,000. And the total vehicles in that population draw are about 120,000. So I know there was discussion about it being an oversaturated market, but it shows that demand is there. And again, Walmart did have a deed restriction on that lot that's been sitting vacant for over 10 years. So crossed off in red are the by right uses that Walmart will not allow because it competes with their business. In black are by right uses that the lot size will not support. So that leaves medical services, a small administrative service building, possibly home occupations, or business or professional offices, which would be very small with it only being a 1 acre lot. So there's not much else that can be done on that site, and a car wash use was already approved by Walmart. And that was it. If there's any questions, or do you have to present again?
They may have some.
Anyone have any questions?
I think your number might be off on the drive-through bank. It's been closed for 10 years, but sorry, just kidding.
No, that was per, it was,
An average
that study
bank?
was referenced earlier too. That was per the ITE manual.
Yeah, I think it's been more like,
Close to 20.
I was gonna say, almost
Oh,
20
when
years
it's closed.
it's been empty, yeah.
I heard
There's
12.
never been anything there. And I'm leaning towards it, but I hope you can make everything work with Walmart, because I think they were the killer of the last one that wanted to go in there, so.
I don't know. that
I was
Walmart-
the engineer of the last one. It didn't. I'm not sure of the details, but it wasn't Walmart.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Anyone else have any questions?
I remember you. So, to me, this spot only makes sense for a car wash. I don't know what it is, I just think of my father I don't wash my car, let the rain do it. But my father used to go get gas, he'd get my mother's car gassed up and then get it washed. So the gas station's right there too. So, it makes the most sense to me. I move approval resolution number R-24-28.
I second.
Either one of you two guys have something?
Don't we have, people need to talk, don't we have the public?
Well, yeah, but I mean.
Oh, okay,
You're asking him questions, not.
No, I'm not asking him any questions.
Nothing?
No, I'm good. Thank
Anyone from
you.
the public want to address this item? Seeing none. Okay. I just had one comment. Try to make it, my problem with some of those other car washes was that Sebastian is not a place where we want a big, what was the one, Paul Bunyan standing
Mr.
60
Clean.
feet
Clean.
tall?
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean standing 60 feet tall,
Yeah.
And you can go many cities in Sebastian, or many cities around the state, and you can see car washes that you don't even know they're a car wash unless you drive past them, So, in the design process, when you put this together, just remember that this, in the riverfront area, we kind of like things to fit Sebastian's ambiance and so forth, as opposed to a corporate ambiance
Right.
and so forth. So when it comes back from a site planning point of view, it'd be really nice if it comes back thinking about how it would work within Sebastian, as opposed to how it would work within Stewart or 192 in Melbourne or someplace like that. Okay. Yeah.
Big
Okay.
Dan needs to look like a fisherman.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you could have a fishing line pulling your car in, something like that, okay.
Why are they not brushless?
Hmm?
We never have brushless car washes. I would actually use one and give my husband a
brushless?
break. Yes, they
you don't like those
exist.
things.
No, my husband's
Okay.
like, nope, they get sand and absolutely not allowed.
Those brushes are pretty soft, but you don't like, okay, well, that's just
Someone's
personal
very
preference. Okay.
specific.
Anybody else have any more comments on this thing?
I know staff recommends approval. We will certainly work with them. This is just for the use tonight. Site plan, they've already kind of modified their original elevations of the building, so we'll try and get the other additional architectural embellishments to the building, and work with them on the site
Yeah,
plan.
I
if
mean, because
approved.
theoretically, this is in the CRA, and we should try to meet the CRA's requirements within this, okay? If it's at all possible to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Just because it's on a Walmart parking lot doesn't mean we want it to look like a Walmart.
Right.
Yes. There's very specific regulations regarding the coverings, the awning covering, the canvas awnings and stuff, so we'll make sure that site plan.
Yeah. And I see in this
meets our code.
picture where they actually have awnings over their vacuum stations.
That's nice.
Is that, yeah.
That would be nice.
So that's a pretty nice deal where you do that, because a lot of the other car washes don't. They have these big poles that go up 20 feet to bring it in the air and come back down, and they're very unattractive, so.
Yeah, I just have concern about the trees and the actual size of that property. It looks whatever on these designs, but when you go by that property and look at it, it is very small. And if you take out, we have all those old growth oak trees around that. I'm just concerned about how much space they're gonna have and to hold cars on there and to come through that parking lot. So that's, when you look at the property as it is over there and not on a conceptual drawing, so that's what I'm talking
We
about.
had at the last one discussed, there is current stormwater areas on that bank And I'm not sure that there's an agreement with Walmart that they can outfall into that pond. That pond is not a master pond, it's just for Walmart. They may be considering exfiltration or underground stormwater tanks to be able to fit everything in, but we will certainly work with the engineer to get that site. We'll have to meet the codes before it goes to planning and zoning for their review. They may have to take out, if it turns out that they do have to put some different stormwater in, they may have to take out, they're proposing 34 vacuum stations. It may have to be smaller, but we'll work with them on the site plan.
Okay. It's possible to actually save those oak trees by pulling them out of the ground and planting them someplace else.
They're already actually in the 10-foot required landscape
Okay.
buffer, so there wouldn't be any reason to remove them because they're in the buffer where they would just have to replant in the same location,
Okay.
so we'll hope to save them.
All right, thank you. Anything else? We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call, please. Oh, anyone from the audience want to address this item? All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
No.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Nunn.
Yes.
Okay, we're now into new business, and this is the item we added. It's Resolution R-2431. Would the attorney like to read the resolution title?
Sure. Resolution number R-24-31, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, designating the City of Sebastian as a POW MIA city, recognizing the contributions of members of the armed services who have been prisoners of war or who remain missing in action, providing for conflicts, scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a resolution by the City of Sebastian. I'm not going to read the entire resolution, but it is, as the city attorney said, it's recognizing POW and MIA, it's for the Veterans of Foreign Wars or the...
Yeah, do you want me to give a little bit of an update?
Yeah, if you could.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, I received a request today from Mr. Peter Puzo, who's with the Sons of the American Legion. And basically what the request is, and why we developed this resolution today for your consideration, is that they would like to apply for the City of Sebastian to become a POW MIA city. And part of that process is that support has to be shown from the city, and that's why we developed the resolution that is before you all today for consideration. Basically, the recognition would acknowledge that the city is a POW MIA city. It supports the designation, and it's an important step to raise awareness among our citizenry, to recognize the families of missing service members who deserve continued efforts. Continued efforts to recognize missing service members and also prisoners of war. So with that, I would, Mr. Puzo sent me the request today, and I wanted to try to get it back to them as soon as we could. Okay. And the resolution is before you all tonight.
Okay. Council, do I have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah. I was going to say, I would love to make a motion on this. My stepfather was a POW for 18 months in Korea, and my uncle actually never came home from Korea. So I find this a great thing for us to do. So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-24-31.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes unanimously. We're on to item new business. Now, it's now item B, which is a voting delegate for the Florida League of Cities Conference. Anyone in the council have any?
I think the Mayor Dodd would make a great representative.
I concur.
Yeah,
I third. Yeah. I fourth that.
We have a third and a fourth. Okay, I'll do it.
You know you wanted to do it anyway. Look at you.
No, I don't know. There might be a conflict because the voting delegates are voting on the representation on the Florida League of Cities Board of Directors, and I'm one of the people being nominated again to be on the Florida League of Cities Board of Directors.
Cross that bridge when
Would
we get
that
to it.
make me being a voting delegate an issue, you think, Madam Attorney?
Don't vote on that item.
It's unanimous, Ed. You are it right now. We'll cross that bridge, like Bob said, when we get to the convention.
So she's going to agree with Fred?
Yeah, I'm with Fred. There was a lot of cross noise.
Okay, all right, we'll go with that. Okay. And now, city attorney matters. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, city attorney matters.
Thank you. Just briefly, we had a matter come up with respect to our carrier and a lawsuit that was recommended to settle. And speaking with the city manager and the risk manager, we couldn't find any guidance on specifically what dollar limits, who had authority to settle what, situations regarding lawsuits, whether they've been filed or not filed. So bringing this forward to you tonight, seeking a little bit of direction. I've given you a sample of something that I found. We can tweak this or, go an entirely different route. Just wanted to get your input. Different ways to handle it can give generally authority to the risk manager to handle it up to a certain amount. And then after that, in consultation with the city attorney, the only direction really in our code or charter is in section 3.09, where it talks about the city attorney representing the city in all legal proceedings, but it doesn't really talk about settling matters. There's some guidance in the statutes with respect to shade meetings, but I don't feel like you want to see everything come back to you on a shade meeting. So with that said, looking for some guidance in a certain dollar amount. We're also seeking authority to potentially settle matters up to $25,000 by the risk manager. That is the instance we have before us at this time, and it's kind of a time-sensitive matter, so that's why I'm bringing it forward to you tonight.
And when you reference risk manager, are you talking about our insurance carrier?
No, Cindy.
Cindy.
HR director, risk manager.
HR director is a risk manager?
Yeah, sorry, I used those terms that are carrying over from other jurisdictions. Sorry. So.
Brian, I would personally like to kind of see the numbers a little smaller that don't require the city manager's review or approval. I think $25,000 is kind of hefty dollar amount to be spent, to be approved without it going through I think the city attorney and city manager ought to be more in tune with approving amounts at that level.
So just in looking at it right now, would your preference be anything over $10,000 up to $50,000 would be city attorney and city manager?
Yeah.
And then $50,000 would come to city council?
Right. I mean,
above $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, I think it should be a combination. The city attorney certainly is going to recommend whether the settlement needs to be done, but I think the sign-off approval on the financial piece of it should be the city manager as opposed to, and then, I don't know. I mean, it's just my thought.
Correct. And I know Jennifer can speak a little bit more specifically to this if you need it, but a lot of our claims that we've had recently go to our insurance carrier. So they're the ones paying out, but obviously it affects our renewal rates, whether they renew us, all those things come into play. So it wouldn't necessarily be a dollar amount that comes right directly out of the city's budget.
Yeah, I understand that.
But the long-term effects of these settlements do affect us.
But I think even an issue that is settled for less than $50,000, in the opinion of the city manager, may come to council because you may feel uncomfortable because of the nature of the item to approve the settlement without having council involved in that.
Correct, and I know in speaking with Jennifer, our plan is to bring something back to you all that's more formal that would direct us going forward, but also for us annually to report to council on every single settlement case that we have or lawsuit that's in action and those things. I think this really came about that we have an instance right now that the carrier is looking for an answer. And myself, I didn't feel comfortable providing that answer. And we were looking and speaking with Jennifer. We couldn't determine the liability and who was responsible from the city side. So we want to get something more formal. I know that what we're asking you all tonight is for approval up to $25,000 immediately. We'll bring this back to you all and formalize this plan at a future meeting.
Okay. And you're going to, basically, this is going to become a policy that resides in our policy manual.
So that's the question. Do you want it as part of the policy manual, or do you want it so that it can be, changed at, your direction, or do you want it codified? where it would take multiple readings and that type of thing.
I don't know that we need to codify it.
Because we need kind of quick action on this
Yeah.
one situation. So,
And we make it as a matter of policy. I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah. I agree with what Fred just said, yeah.
okay. Okay, so then we'll bring a resolution back and we'll tweak this a little bit and talk to Cindy a little bit more and bring that back to you probably at the next meeting.
Okay, now, if you have an issue that's pressing enough, do you need us to give you some interim approval on something?
Yes, we would like to have direction for that so that in the meantime, temporarily policy being set that we would have authority between the three of us to approve up to 25,000.
Okay, council.
Does that need to be added to the agenda, or can we do it?
No, you can
Well,
do it. You can do it under the city attorney's.
Yes. Okay, I'll make a motion that we provide the city manager and city attorney approval to approve settlements up to $25,000 in the interim.
That'll work.
Yes, second, if that's a motion.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you got that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do you have anything else?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay. City manager matters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have 2 items. The first one is, in speaking with our strategic planning consultant, they're ready. They've completed their survey, gotten the results back from an internal survey. The next step is to come and present that data to you all in a workshop format. And our request is looking at July 10th at 5 p.m. prior to the city council meeting. Does anyone have any concerns with that?
I'll be out of town, but I'll zoom in.
Okay, but you can zoom in.
Same.
You're also going to be going?
Yes.
Party go on someplace we don't know?
No, I got job training.
But you can zoom in?
I can zoom in.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Are you leaving, is it possible to get them copies of the presentation material before they leave?
Absolutely.
Great.
Okay, which might be better if you have that with you when you do. Okay. So July the 10th, and we don't have to do anything to do that. You can schedule that. We don't have to do anything to make that workshop
No,
happen.
we'll just advertise a workshop July 10th on a strategic plan. And just so you know, our future plan with this is they'll do their presentation to you all, get a little bit of direction, and then we're going out to the public and we're going to have public meetings to get input from the public on the strategic plan after that meeting. And then it'll come back to you all for a final approval.
Okay. Are they going to have additional private meetings with us?
If you would like, we can set those up.
Maybe we should, let's talk about that after the workshop.
Okay.
That
we
might
can
be
do
a
that.
good idea.
And I'll mention, they've requested, we're going to have a phone call within the next couple of days. So I'll go ahead and mention that to them and let them know that that's something that you all are interested in.
All right, thanks, sir.
And so the second thing, so we've got July 10th is the strategic planning workshop at 5 p.m. Second thing is our budget workshops were tentatively scheduled for July 11th and 12th. We've got some scheduling issues with those dates. So I wanted to see if you all 5 of you would be available July 16th or 17th to move the budget workshops to that following week.
I won't be available on either of those days.
Okay, are you available any day that week?
I'm available the 18th and 19th.
So the
That's
19th.
the Thursday and Friday of that week.
What about the night? Is anybody not available on the 19th? The 18th, I think we have a scheduling thing already on the 18th.
What?
The, no, planning, we got planning that day, but then we also have the Treasure Coast.
Oh, okay.
Meeting on the 18th.
Treasure Coast what?
Yeah, the Treasure Coast meeting in Okeechobee.
Is that in Okeechobee,
in
the
Okeechobee
18th?
on the 18th.
See, now I have got that down on the 10th.
I thought that was early. I thought that was the 10th.
I've got that on the 10th.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
Maybe I had the wrong day then.
It is on the 10th because
got it on the 10th.
that's why I'm not going because we have a meeting, so.
Well, but we're going to be back in time for the council meeting.
But
Oh, okay, so is anyone, so the 18th, is anybody not available on the 18th or the 19th? You're not,
Not
are
on the
both of those
18th.
days? What about the 19th?
19th I can do.
Okay, so why don't we do this? We'll move the budget workshop to the 19th. I will schedule it for a full day. It's going to start at 9 a.m. and it is going to have to go probably 5, 6 o'clock.
You're getting Snickers from down here, you know.
They'll be prepared.
Make sure I
They
have
have
some,
nothing better to do.
make sure I have some groceries.
So the 19th, we will do that. We'll have lunch because we'll be working through it.
Okay, are you providing lunch?
We will that day, yes.
Okay.
We will provide lunch.
So we're doing away with the 11th and 12th.
Correct. The 11th and 12th will
That's
be
fine.
eliminated. We'll go the 19th.
Okay.
And we'll make it work in one day on the
19th, all
19th.
day budget workshops.
9 a.m. to what?
9 a.m. till as long as it goes.
5 or 6.
You get
We'll have
three.
the schedule set up so that we're as efficient as possible and get the job done on the 19th.
All day affair. Okay.
You get like 7 hours and you're done.
Now, one thing we got to realize is that workshop also includes a potential of public input, so we have to,
Correct.
we have to, council, something for us to think about as to whether we need to change our public input policy for that workshop from 5 minutes to 3 or something like that. We'll just see how many people show up, and then we can do that at the beginning of the workshop. Okay.
Well, thank you all for being flexible on that. I apologize for having to change those dates, but we'll move it to the 19th and we'll go forward from there.
Okay.
Thank you all. That's all I have for tonight.
Madam Clerk. Vice Mayor Dixon.
I went to the Sebastian Historical Museum for the ribbon cutting of the map room, and just the museum in general, wow. So much to take in, so much to see. It's free, so if you're looking for something to do this summer to get out of the heat, it's definitely worth going to. Amazing pictures, great things to check out and learn about our community. So, and then I heard from our COPE unit about the back-to-school event that they're working on. They're getting excited about that. And I don't want to say the date because I may get it wrong, but it's coming up, so.
Okay, I just have one thing. I've had a conversation with one of the Florida executives for Stewart Medical. And I just want to make sure that I let everybody know the contents of that conversation because of some stuff that's been printed in the news. Not Andy. Some of the stuff's been printed in the news. Sebastian Medical Center is up, operating, and fully worked. The employees are getting paid. Their services are all there. I can attest to that because I was there all day a week and a half ago. So with my wife, 2 weeks ago with my wife, and I'm telling you, they didn't miss a lick. Those people were professional. They were dedicated. Their services was great. Everything was, the operation was there. I got a muffin and a cup of coffee from their little cafeteria thing, and it was a good muffin and a good cup of coffee. So they're not, I mean, there are some vendors that are unhappy because they're not getting paid for pre-bankruptcy debt. So that's the way the bankruptcy court works. Once you go through bankruptcy, anything that doesn't get included in that bankruptcy filing, they can't pay for. Stewart Medical can't pay them whether they want to or not because it wasn't included in the filing. So there's some issues with that they're working through. But the hospital is working. It's moving forward. I just want to let everybody know that because I've heard some people tell me, oh, the employees aren't getting paid, things aren't working, the hospital has no bandages, and they have none of this, they have none of that. Well, I'll tell you, they have plenty of that stuff. I mean, I saw a bunch of it, you know, so I passed that on. And the reason that I talked to that gentleman is he called me and wanted to make sure that I knew as the mayor that they were running or operational, things were working well, and I think he probably thought I probably would pass that on to the citizens. So that's why I'm doing that. Okay. And other than that, thanks for coming. That's all I've got. Now we're at Councilmember McPartland.
I'd like to congratulate the Florida Panthers on their Stanley Cup victory. And then everybody just have a happy and safe 4th of July. That should be a long weekend. You know, be careful out there.
Yeah, you just found out today that you don't work on that Friday now, too. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, technically, but I'm always working.
All right. Councilmember Jones.
Yes, I just have one other thing. Mr. Benton, this is for you. I've had some inquiries, and I know I've inquired of you about the Eternal Flame at the park on the Merchant Marine. And do you know where we are now? Are we looking to put a permanent light there or still use gas, or what are we looking at?
Yeah, so I'll just give a quick brief history of it. So when the Four Chaplains Memorial was installed there, Mr. Larry Wapnick had worked with the local gas company, and they had agreed to donate the gas and ensure that the gas was filled at the Eternal Flame at the Four Chaplains Memorial. Another company came in a couple years ago, bought them out, and they did not abide by or agree to the free gas, I guess you could say. So Mr. Wapnick, they came and filled it up. This was outside of the city's purview. The city had nothing to do with it. We had no involvement in it. The tank was filled, and I guess a balance was due. The balance was never paid. The city stepped in last year when we were notified, and we called the gas company, and we were told, well, you have to pay this fee. I think it was $600, and we'll come out, and then we would go forward from there. So at that point, I thought that it was worth it. The city could take on the responsibility going forward. Well, once we paid the $600, then they said, oh, no, that was just to, so we would open the account for you and let you know that the amount due was a few thousands of dollars. I mean, it was up there a good amount. And then you still got to pay the amount to get the tank filled back up. So at that point, we contacted Mr. Wapnick. He said he's no longer interested in it. He said that their plan was to eliminate the Eternal Flame. I know that I don't have the most recent update, but Mr. Blankenship had been working with the gas company to see if they would come out and remove the tank. We were going to see if we had another option to get another gas tank put in there before we went the route of a permanent flame, to just put a permanent lighted flame on that. It wouldn't be a gas flame, it would just be a permanent light. But before we took that step, we wanted to make sure we exhausted the opportunities we had to try to get gas there to get that flame put back in. But I will ask Mr. Blankenship for an update on where we are with that. And if that's no longer an option, we will put a permanent light on the Eternal Flame.
All right. All right, thank you. Yeah, we have to be very careful in the future when we allow someone to put something like that in our parks or in our facilities, that we have a written contract saying that they're going to be responsible for this in the future, because that Four Chaplains, it was put there, and it's actually cleaned by the Daughters of the American Revolution, I believe, or some other group that actually comes out and cleaned it. And we just need to make sure that it stays the way it was intended.
And I also want to add to that, we just recently contracted the monument company that came in and redid the monuments at the cemetery. We contracted them to come in. We saw there was some potential failure in the Four Chaplains monument that was observed. So we contracted them. They're coming in I think they're coming in starting next Monday. And they have promised us the work will be done and it will be perfect in time for 4th of July. But that same company is coming over to fix the monument and get it polished up and cleaned up completely. So we've taken on that responsibility. I think, with it being on city property and making sure that we respect the area and ensure that the maintenance is upkept on it. And I agree with you that anything going forward with an outside entity, we need to ensure we have agreements in place.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Nunn.
Everybody have a happy 4th of July. I found out this week I'm going to Missouri for 4th of July. Surprise, going to see my son in the Navy. So it's an opportunity. I'll be sad to miss our 4th of July here, though. It'll be the first time in a long time. So happy 4th of July to everybody. Thanks.
We going to use golf carts, Brian?
Yes, we do have golf carts set up, ready to go for you all.
Okay. And we're going to pick them up at the rec center, or because that parade starts at Davis Street?
Yes, it starts at the community center.
At the community center.
Correct.
So are we going to pick them up there?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Are they already going to be decorated for us?
Oh, please.
No.
Just kidding.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if no one has anything for the good of this order, I'm seeing no's back there, heads shaking. These people over here want to go home, so we're adjourned.